Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to PIMA's third 2021 Futures Conference. So give me a moment to share my screen and we'll get started. All right, well, welcome to the event today. As mentioned before, because of the pandemic, we're having to hold virtual sessions. But as we've done for the previous events, we will be running the event using Menti and YouTube. So this is going to be very interactive. So we have an important update today as well. A couple of things to be aware of. So there is a 30-second delay between when I say things and when you hear it. So that means there'll be a couple places where Anthony and I will again be sharing some updates about the institution as we kind of wait for some of your input to come in. And we will take our time through this because we want to make sure there is plenty of time for you to give your input, because the topic today is really important. We'll be talking about long-term goals at the institution. And as we develop the next strategic plan, your input is really, really important. So we want to make sure there's time for you to share your comments with us. And as before, we have prizes. With thanks to the PIMA Foundation, one student attendee will win a $250 towards their educational expenses, and one community member will win a $100 gift card. And we'll be gathering names and contact information a little way into today's session, and then we'll do a random drawing later, and I may be calling you later if you're one of the winners. Our agenda for today will start with some welcoming comments from Chancellor Lee Lambert, and then we'll hear an update on the progress and outcomes so far on the Education and Facilities Master Plans. We have a few guest speakers who will speak about that today. And after we hear about the master plans, there will be an orientation to Menti so we can get everybody connected to the system. And then we'll jump into the topic of Achieve 60 Pima County and start gathering your input on some of our long-term goals that we're considering as we move into the next planning cycle. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Chancellor Lee Lambert for welcoming comments.
Well, thank you, Nick, and good morning, everybody. We're so excited that we could be sharing some of the great work happening here at the college, as well as getting your feedback and input on our directions for the future. So what I thought I'd do this morning is just briefly hit on a few things. So a big focus for PIMA has been for a long time, and it's been true for a lot of us across the country, is enrollment. What lesser things people know about when you think about enrollment is there are a number of factors or areas to pay attention to, namely, what's the competition? Who are your feeder schools? What's the labor market and program relevancy of your institution to the labor market opportunities, demographics, and learner insights, as well as marketing. So as we move through today, just keep those things in mind. So as we think about some of the realities of what's happening, drivers and signals, some important ones to just keep in the back of your mind as well are the reality of governmental policies and how that's impacting on our colleges and universities, and specifically Pima Community College. One big one has to do with funding. As you know, we do not receive state aid at Pima Community College. We're one of 2 community colleges across the country where that's a reality that we deal with. But another important thing is there's a lot of other governmental policies. One to keep in mind coming out of Washington, D.C. is the College Transparency Act. It's a bipartisan supported bill, and it looks like it's going to start getting traction again this session of Congress. And it will put greater emphasis, I should say, around accountability, whether it's issues of access, affordability, completion, workforce outcomes, equity, and beyond. So those are just some things to keep in mind in terms of drivers and signals, as well as the reality of the 4 superpowers industry 4.0, which you're going to hear a little bit more as we hear about the educational and facilities master plan coming up here. So 3 questions to keep in mind as you help us think through the challenges ahead and the opportunities ahead. Where's the puck going? What story is the data and the evidence telling us? and what problem are we trying to solve? So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dolores, our provost. So Dr. Dolores Duran-Certa has been our provost now for well over, I believe it's 4 years, right, Dolores?
That's right, Lee, yes.
And she has been leading our educational master planning efforts along with Dr. David Doré and Bill Ward, who's been leading our facilities master planning work. And ultimately, the three of them are leading the integration of this work, and it reflects our commitment to integrated planning approaches to today and the future of the college. Dolores?
Thank you, Chancellor Lambert. And thank you for your leadership and vision and tasking me to lead the education master plan and working with my colleagues, Dr. Doré and Bill Ward. So the three of us will be sharing with you an update of our education master plan and facilities master plan. But I'd like to welcome everybody today, bienvenidos, on this beautiful spring day. Now we're officially in spring. It's been a tough, challenging year, but we've made it through. And I think some of us are feeling refreshed after spring break. And I know some of our educational partners aren't here with us today because they're going back full swing starting today. But I'd also like to thank Dr. Nick Richmond and Dr. Anthony Sovak for their being co-facilitators of the Futures Conference and leading the strategic plan. So we're very happy that they are leading that. And then also thank you to PCC TV for hosting these sessions with our internal and external community. So thank you for that. So many of you, actually, I think every Pima resident received the spring issue of the Career Focus, which highlights some of our centers of excellence, and Dr. Doré will be elaborating on that. But if you still have it hanging around at the house, make sure you take a look at it and see all the exciting things that we're doing. I thought I would start off with defining, for some of you that may not know or understand, what an education master plan is and what a facilities master plan is. So this is a master plan in higher education, is a document that's developed to address various issues having to do with academics and with workforce needs. It serves as a roadmap for our journey into the future and how we're going to implement certain strategies that we have come up together and how we're going to reach our goals in education and degree attainment. What's interesting with us, though, with Pima College, is that we did a concurrent education master plan and a facilities master plan together. And that's to help align our goals with the physical facilities part, but also our education academic goals to make sure they're interwoven together. And I know Bill Ward will be speaking more to that and how special that is for Pima and being a trendsetter for the country too. So the master plan describes our programs, our current programs, gives a history and the demographic environment. It includes the vision of trends that are happening right now. So it's a roadmap and it guides us as we make these decisions with our faculty, our staff, and administrators in this transformative journey. And it really goes into detail, but we're going to be providing an overview for you. So if we could please go on to the next slide, and I can briefly give you an overview of the college today. So as we know, Pima College, in this post-COVID new normal, we're providing not only face-to-face classes starting in the fall, hopefully, if everything goes well and we continue being strong with vaccinations and the CDC guidelines, also hybrid, virtual, and online instruction. And we award certificates and 2-year degrees in more than 95 programs, program areas. We have 5 campuses, 6 centers, 2 administrative locations. We have a wonderful, diverse student population and many first-generation students who transfer or go on to the workforce. We have students in adult education and in the non-credit area. We're officially designated as a Hispanic serving institution, but we also are focusing on our students from African American descent, Asian American descent, Native American descent, among other groups too. And we're actively working and collaborating with community organizations so we can best address the needs of the different student demographics. We give about 6,000 degrees and certificates a year. We have about 1,200 full-time faculty and staff, and we manage about a 330 million budget. So that's quite a bit. So let's go on to the next slide, please, to delve more into the education facilities master plans and its development. So it really started in 2015, this reiteration, 2015 to 2018, and we wanted to address various aspects. One was address declining enrollment. We also wanted to identify our strengths, and this is for a 10-year period too. We wanted to make sure our programs were aligned with student services and their needs. And also we were looking at the space utilization and how we can use it most effectively. So we conducted a space needs analysis with our consultants, and the group that we have been working with is the Smith Group. We sought internal and external community feedback. And as you can see there in the graphic, back then between 2015 and 18, it included all these different groups, the Chancellor, Faculty Senate, at the time CDACs, which are now the discipline faculty committees, department heads, deans, student affairs, myself as provost, campus vice presidents, presidents at the time, students, facilities, staff, and of course, you all, our neighbors and community. And all of this resulted in some wonderful recommendations for the centers of excellence and the campuses, and Dr. Doré will elaborate on that. So we can go on to the next slide. So what we've done now since 2020, we asked the consultants to work with us so we could do a revision, kind of taking a step back and assessing where things are right now, doing term cycle review and revision of both the education facility and facilities master plans. So what was updated? We looked at the analysis of the geographic, demographic, and also the industry trends to validate the recommendations that were given previously, and to see if they needed to be updated and tweaked depending on these trends, and especially with COVID that happened right in the middle of it. So that's really made us accelerate and take a very close look at adapting and changing things too. So the revision provides alternative decisions, directions, and reevaluations. It's still at the draft stage, and we're still meeting with some folks to tweak it and things like that, but we're well on our way. So let's go on to, yes, thank you for this slide. The revision includes the vision of academic affairs. And in this revision, we're looking at not so much the traditional student like in the past coming directly from high school, and those students are vitally important to us as well. But we're seeing more of an increase of the working learner that needs to be upskilled and reskilled so they can advance in their careers. So we're shifting our customer base, per se, to meet the challenges of what the Chancellor mentioned earlier about Industry 4.0 and the 4 superpowers. And if you're not familiar with that, the 4 superpowers include artificial intelligence, mobile technology, cloud, and the Internet of Things. And all of this is related to learning and working. We're also focusing on apprenticeships for our students and work-based learning, and as well as contextualizing our gen ed courses. We want to establish a universal design to create better pathways for our students. And that includes acting on our program review findings, and also developing micro pathways and micro credentials. And we're working with the deans and the vice provost, the Dean's Council to make sure that this is implemented quickly. And then lastly, we're also looking at modifying our schedules and seeing what our students want. We want to be flexible and adaptable to them and the course delivery. So that means expanding course and program offerings online and virtual, for example, meeting the demands of more hybrid classes and high flex classes. So students can be at different areas. They can be at home, they can be on a campus, they can Zoom in and work with their instructor and their classmates. And we're also wanting to meet the demands of more flexible schedules, such as evenings and weekends, and then also different durations. So instead of the traditional 16 weeks, also 14 weeks, 8 weeks, 5 weeks, etc. So these are all the different things that we're looking at in academic affairs, as well as the drivers that you see there in the graphic on the slide. So with that, I'd like to pass it now to Dr. Duray, who will be going more in depth with the Centers of Excellence. David?
Thank you so much, Dr. Duran-Sera. So, one of the most critical changes that we have had since 2015 has been the realignment of the institution with the needs of the community and our key growth sectors in Southern Arizona. And this is part of this has really been done through the development of our Centers of Excellence. And the centers have been shaped in collaboration with our community and with industry partners, and in addition to our faculty, staff, and students. So what's exciting is these have been really collaborative endeavors. And just a little overview of what a Center of Excellence is. And here's some of the characteristics that you see in the visual. Industry standards at the highest level and thought leadership, partnerships with K-12, our other post-secondary institutions, and strong engagement of students with industry in workplace learning environments, world-class instruction, a comprehensive workforce development and training that's not only offering degrees, but then also offering lifelong learning to prepare learners for the ongoing and accelerated changes that are happening in all industries. And then multiple on-ramps, very easy on-ramps for our students, and an integration of credit, non-credit with industry recognized credentials and certifications. And then also, which you'll be seeing, cutting edge facilities and equipment. So those are some of the key components. And then our centers really have three pillars. Convergence, and what that means is really a convergence of disciplines. As industry is changing, as we're moving into Industry 4.0, what we're seeing is a blurring of disciplines. For example, automated industrial technology is a blurring of computer science, electronics, and engineering. Secondly, adaptability. We need to be able to adapt our spaces very quickly so that we can serve our industry partners. And then finally, speed, that we are developing curriculum at the speed of industry. So these are some of the components. Now I'd like to just give you a quick overview of each of our centers. So next slide. And the photo that you see there is a photo of our brand new automotive Technology and Innovation Center. And that is one of the components of the Center of Applied Technology. In this center is going to feature original equipment manufacturers, and the faculty will integrate autonomous and electric vehicle curriculum into the automotive program. And what we're seeing is this autonomous, connected, electric, and shared, what we call ACES paradigm. And this is going to open, it's completed, and it will be open for our students in the fall semester of 2021. In addition, you'll be seeing our advanced manufacturing building, and actually is the building that's behind me right now, the actual architectural viewing of that building. That's going to have welding, robotics, computer-aided drafting, machining, automated industrial technology, mechatronics, and many other additional programs. The center will also feature a flexible industry training lab to train workforce on the latest advanced manufacturing equipment. So these are some of the exciting things that are happening. Now, also at the downtown campus, we will be integrating some of the information technology coursework into all of these programs. We're also planning to move our Small Business Development Center to the downtown campus so that we can infuse more entrepreneurial programs into these as well. And then we've been in dialogue with the county to co-locate some of the one-stop staff at the downtown campus as well. In addition, our Applied Technology Center is also located at the airport with our Aviation Technology Center. And this program, which we are expanding, will be critical to meeting a business and industry need for skilled workers, as over 600,000 new airline maintenance technicians will be needed over the next 20 years. And jobs right now in that field average $52,000 a year. Our next center is the Center of Information Technology, which is located at our East Campus. And this was completed in the fall of 2020. Our cybersecurity center, which also we house a student-run data center, a cybersecurity operations center, and a fusion center, which is really an active learning room that accommodates a variety of events such as seminars and student activities. And what's exciting is this is the only center, and we are the only community college that I know of, certainly in Arizona, to host a live fire, voluntary-driven cyber warfare range, which really brings industry professionals into our campus. Our next center is the Center of Hospitality Leadership. And this program is using a Title V grant to create state-of-the-art facilities featuring 3 commercial kitchens, a recommissioned grill, a new restaurant and bistro, and that will be open to the public. And a highlight of the center will be a demonstration kitchen and amphitheater equipped with advanced teaching technology using mobile, cloud, and IoT, Internet of Things, for virtual, online, and augmented learning. And this space will also be able to hold business and community events. And the photo that you see there is the new food truck, which the center most recently purchased. And that's part of the concept of these centers as well, which is a learning living lab, giving all of our students, that hands-on experience to learn. And then our next center of excellence is the COE in health professions. And as part of our digital literacy initiative, classes are already using, integrating the use of tablets, augmented reality, and simulation mannequins to provide a realistic experience for our students. And the technology that students are and will be using is really preparing them to function in a telehealth and telemedicine environment, as we have had to do throughout this pandemic, which we're seeing more and more demand for. And Vice Chancellor Ward will be talking about some of the projects in terms of the facility projects associated with this center as well. Our next center is our Center of Public Safety and Emergency Services. And this is fire science and emergency medical services, the law enforcement and administration of justice program, and our transportation and logistics programs. And, Pima Community College trains the majority of Pima County's first responders with partnerships that include 2 law enforcement agencies, 12 fire department districts, 6 hospitals, and ambulance companies. And Pima is also developing and offering an entirely online certificates and degree programs in logistics and supply chain management, as well as developing hybrid and online EMT and paramedic programs as well. And our final center that I want to mention today is our COE for Arts and Humanities. And arts are already housed at our West Campus and feature a beautiful performance space and art gallery. And our journalism program has been completely revamped, adding digital arts that aligns with the U of A goals to transfer. And the arts program has actually several programs that are within our career and technical education areas, and they're developing stackable credentials. And the arts division really sees themselves as a training ground, for project-based opportunities that are interdisciplinary and viable across all of our centers of excellence as an innovation hub. With that, I just want to go over just a few more things that really have been impacting us. You know, the workforce has changed very quickly due to the impact of Industry 4.0, and as Dr. Duran Cerda mentioned, the 4 superpowers. And the pandemic has only accelerated the need to continue with our centers of excellence and the associated initiatives to reskill and upskill our community and help them enter or re-enter the workforce. And some of the current initiatives are the Reskilling and Recovery Network. And along with the governor's office and other Arizona community colleges and our Arizona at Work system, we have developed a framework to address equity issues that became more pronounced through the pandemic. And in the short and near term, we're really looking to connect learners to high growth, high wage career fields. We're also developing a number of short-term stackable credentials, what we call micro credentials. We partnered with Google to develop and offer a Google IT Support Professional Certificate, which had over 100 students enrolled in our first 2 cohorts. We're also scaling our IBEST programs, our Integrated Basic Education Skills Training, that allows our adult learners who are pursuing a GED to also receive a certificate, a CTE certificate as well. And then finally, we are one of 6 community colleges in the nation that was selected to be part of the Community College Growth Engine Fund, which is really looking at really rapid response to the key changes that are happening in industry. And so these are some of the things that are going on and some of the plans we have in our centers of excellence. And now I want to turn it over to Vice Chancellor Bill Ward, who's going to give us an overview of the timelines of the exciting things that are going on with so many of our facilities projects. And I want to also thank Vice Chancellor Ward and his team for their collaboration. And I want to thank Dr. Duran Cerda for her cooperation as this has been a really collaborative effort. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Vice Chancellor Ward.
Thank you, Dr. Dory, and thanks, Dr. Duran Cerda, Vice Chancellor Richmond, and Chancellor Lambert for letting me speak to you all today about where we are with our construction. So as you can look at this timeline here, I'm going to talk a little bit, so I won't really go through the time. You can see it, but to kind of key on to what Dr. Duran Cerda had said earlier about the process. We had started this process in 2015, and the reason it's a big deal to the college is because we're, in a sense, we're a trendsetter. We actually did an educational and facilities master plan at the same time, which is unheard of in our industry, and also tied that with our strategic plan. And as we've gone through this process since 2015, the college has continued to update all of these plans simultaneously as we've moved through. So you can look at the different projects that we're doing. These are the big ones on the table, but they're not everything that the college is doing related to our centers of excellence all over the district. And so why don't we move to the next slide? So as Dr. Dory had mentioned earlier, we're very, very excited about our Applied Technology Automotive Technology Innovation Center. This facility is a 40,000+ square feet. It is going to be set up to where the college can teach our mechanics to learn about gasoline engines, light diesel, and actually electric vehicles. And so we're very, very excited. It also has a second floor to this facility and a beautiful boardroom that can be utilized by the college or also our business partners. So as you go through and look as Pima puts things out about these facilities, I'd highly recommend people take a look at them, and they'd be very excited to see what the college is doing. Next slide. So this is a conceptual idea of what we had put together a number of years ago related to an advanced manufacturing facility, which will be the issue that was on the table for us is that our programs were not sufficient within their facilities related to the type of education that we needed to teach as of today. And so that's why the college went out and looked at expanding all these programs. So we're very excited about this facility. It's going to be 100,000 square feet. 3 stories high. And if you look to the bottom right slide, it's going to have something like no other facility in the United States has at this time that does this type of training. It has a crane that will actually go from one side of the building to the next. It could actually drop things down from the third to the first floor, and that our students will be able to learn how to utilize this type of equipment. It's in a sense operates like a robot. So we're very, very excited about this project, and it's already started. We are not haven't started any concrete or anything as of yet. We're doing site development right now and working out some of our issues related to drainage, sewage, and other things that are tied to that site. Next slide, please. And so this is our Aviation Technology Center. This was something that our chancellor and others and this team here worked very, very hard with the governor's office to secure funding for this facility. What the goal is to expand it. And due to the fact that we have a lot of opportunities that we know that the college can expand our enrollment related to the site. And so it's in partnership with the college, with the airport authority. And we're very, very excited about this project. We're in the dirt right now. We haven't started any structures. But as people may realize, doing work on an airport, these are considered different types of sites. And so the construction is a lot more intensive and a lot more code issues and things related to the type of development that we do. But we're very excited about this project and strongly feel that it is going to enhance our program for the future. Our goal is to continue working hard on this and trying to get this thing wrapped up here by 2022. Next slide, please. So this is something that people may not be aware of, but the college is doing a good sized project for our Center of Excellence Health Professionals at our West Campus. We're also doing some work related to our science and different types of labs that we have on that site. And what we were able to do was work with the Marana School District, who donated to the college a number of portable buildings. 2 of them we have located at our downtown campus. And this was a whole structure, steel facility that we had to take it apart, literally in 6 pieces or more. And then the college has taken this and totally restored this facility. It's located on our West Campus. And the neat thing about it is that it took over a space that the college had not used in some time. We're going to probably get anywhere to 4 to 6 rooms out of the unit, and it is actually has been completed. With that said, we also are in the process of developing a plan for our Center of Excellence related to our health professionals at the West Campus. Next slide. And so as you can see, one of the things we're planning on doing is we have a number of buildings at that site. West Campus is a 50-year-old facility. It's in dire need of remodeling. I mean, we've done a good job keeping up things and keeping it to where it's at today, but it is time. And so our goal is to take about 100,000 square feet at this facility and relocate all of our programs related to health services to the West Campus. We're in the process of developing a proposal to go out to select an architect for this facility, and the college is very excited about moving this thing forward as soon as possible. Next slide. And then you can get an idea of kind of some of the thoughts that we're looking at related to remodeling the facilities here. This is just some things to just show you what the classrooms will look like or the spaces will look like. One of the things about this West Campus is because it was built 50 years ago, not all of our classrooms and labs are of optimum size or have the type of equipment that are needed as of today. And so this is just to give you an idea of what we're looking at and what it would go from well, you know, where we are today and where we hope to go in the future. Next slide. And so as Dr. Dory had mentioned earlier, the college is very excited about our cyber room. This is something that we had worked very hard to partner with this group. And I think at this time we may be, I think, the only community college in the state of Arizona that actually has a live fire cyber warfare room. This was a great partnership with our campus, our IT team, and within our facilities, and most of the work on this facility was all done in-house. So we're very proud of it. It also can be used in an emergency for us as an incident command center. There's a few little other things that we're going to be doing to it, but we're very excited, and hopefully people will take the time to come by and look at it. Next slide. Thank you, and I guess I will turn it over to Anthony.
Hey, outstanding. So I think I'm waiting for Nick to put up our slides, but I'm going to start talking us through getting connected onto Menti, just like we've done in the previous Futures Conference. We'll be using Mentimeter, and this is kind of a survey tool which will allow us to solicit feedback and get your opinions in real time, and kind of provoke and steer the conversation and kind of get the feedback that we need throughout. So if you've never used it before, what you need to do is go to www.menti.com, and you'll see that at the top of the screen, and to enter the code 57447796. And then you should see this exact slide. I think I'm logged in on my other screen. Yep. And once you're there and you see that slide, you'll be connected. Again, it's a 30-second delay. So when we talk about that, that means the Mentimeter and our conversations are sometimes not synced. And so I tend to try and fill the space by talking about some of the achievements of the college, some things that are going on, and all of those things have been solicited from various departments and folks at the college, and they've got a whole list of them, and I hope to get to as many as we can to sort of fill the time. So again, menti.com 57447796. Let's go to the next slide. So this will be the first slide that we see, and it's just kind of a practice question. But how are you feeling about the event today? Are you excited about the event today? Be the highlight of my week? Absolutely. How is it Monday already? That was my suggestion coming after spring break. I thought maybe that might be a surprise for a few folks. And looking at our stream, it looks like we have about 90 or so folks watching the stream. That's great. Absolutely. The Mondays are winning out. Excellent. For our first interesting factoid today about Pima Community College, I'll share that Robert Ramirez received the Anne Radcliffe Award in October from the National Scholarship Providers Association. The award recognizes invaluable, exceptional contributions made by an individual to their organization and the scholarship profession. Lady Anne Radcliffe Mollison was the first person to contribute a financial aid scholarship. Robert currently is a program manager for Pima for Youth. So congratulations, Robert. Great, we got about half of you are in and have got the Menti going. That's great. 52, a little over half. And we're going to go to the next slide while folks get caught up with the menti.com. And you'll see that code stays up at the top throughout the entire presentation. But we also like you to provide your primary affiliation, whether it's a student, community member, faculty, staff, or instructor, staff, or administrator. Sorry, I'm on the other screen. I'm doing it too. Boom. Great, 32, lots of staff. Hey, we've got a student. Excellent. And some community members, thank you for joining us. Thank you, faculty, for coming in on the Monday after spring break. Excellent. Sorry for the dead air. I've got a bunch of tabs on the other here where I'm checking in the chat. Great job, Robert. Thanks, Rachel. Great. We've got to get in about 52. Thank you. Look, great representation from the staff. Thank Thank you to the administrators too who are joining us. Everybody's opinion matters here at Futures Planning. I'd like to share now that the accounting department created the new enrolled agent program, and they are partnering with the United Way to provide service learning through the volunteer income tax assistance program. When campuses reopen, they will further partner with United Way by hosting a VITA site at West Campus. The program students will staff the site. So that sounds like an excellent example of what our administrators were talking about in the planning about combining the learning with the functional service to the community. So that's outstanding. Again, about 60, great. We got 2 students, 7 community members, 10 staff, faculty, instructors, 31 staff, and 8 administrators. Excellent. So let's do one more, and this is going to be word cloud. And fair warning, Nick is very excited about word clouds for this particular presentation, so there will be several of them. But in one word, describe how you feel about the future. Looks like you can enter one word 3 times. So I guess in 3 words, but one word at a time. How do you feel about the future? Wary, optimistic. Hopeful, horrified. Positive, cautious. Oh, look at all this. Great. Woohoo, excellent. Woohoo kind of balances out the horrified there, I think, a little bit. It's good. So if you know how these works, the bigger they are, the more times they've been entered. So if you see a word that you want to get a little more play, you can go ahead and add that as one of your words. Cloudy, I don't know if that's meta, as in because it's a word cloud, or just sort of, hazy and we can't see it. But either way, I like it. Great, very digital. I think optimistically should count with optimistic, but I don't write the coding here. I like it. Challenge, not sure, fair enough. It's Monday morning. I'm 2 cups into coffee. And I hope you don't hear it, but there are contractors working at this location now, and there may be some noises going on at some point. So I trust Nick will chime in if it gets to be too much. Good, we've got about 60 folks. We'll give it another couple seconds, and then we're going to move on, and I'll talk a little bit about prizes. Great, let's go on and we'll talk about prizes and then we'll get started. We have a lot to cover today. So there is a survey and we'd like everyone to fill out the survey. Not everyone's going to get a prize though. PCC employees are not eligible, but there are prizes for, I believe, students and community members. Now, unfortunately, we had trouble typing this link in. It's the same link, so if you've gone to this before, it might show up in your browser already. It's bit.ly/PIMA FC21, so for PIMA Futures Conference 21. And we'll when this video is done posting and we're finished, we'll put this in the description, so you can go ahead and just click it and fill it out and give us some feedback. We'll randomly select winners and call them by later today if you were selected. And the prizes are very generous, and they're brought to us by the PIMA Foundation. So thank you to them, and thank you everyone for paying attention. Paying attention and being here is what I meant. I said paying attention, but in any case, thank you for being here. And we put this a little earlier in the slideshow because I think towards the end, folks may have just kind of vamoosed, and now we will have a better chance of getting this to you when it's more appropriate. We have more time. So with that being said, I think I'm going to hand it off to Nick, who's going to lead us through the next section.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anthony. And thank you to our presenters, Executive Vice Chancellors Dolores Duran-Seda, David Doré, and Vice Chancellor for Facilities, Bill Ward. We appreciate you being here today and sharing the really important updates about the progress and direction from our facilities and education master plans. And as we move forward today, please keep in mind some of the updates they shared, because with the new Centers for Excellence coming online, this opens up opportunities for the institution in terms of how we approach our programs, how we engage with our students. And they're all important things to keep in mind as we think about some of the longer term goals at the institution. Now, hopefully you all have the survey link. I'm going to move along to the next slide now, but as Anthony mentioned, we will post the survey link in the description when the video is posted. So you'll have another opportunity to get the link should you need it. So what we're going to do today is spend a little bit of time talking about one of the longer term priorities that PIMA has committed to, and then gather your input on some specific questions and some specific areas in which we want to gather feedback. And this kind of means I get to do one of my favorite things for the next few minutes and talk about some of the data at the institution and what it tells us about what is working, where there are areas we can improve, because as mentioned by Chancellor Lambert earlier, the data tell a story. And it's really our responsibility to understand that story and think about what we can do to help support successful outcomes for our students. Now, Achieve 60 is a statewide initiative, and the goal is twofold. First, by 2030, the goal is that 60% of Arizona adults between the ages of 25 and 64 will hold a post-secondary credential or degree. So that's one piece, completion numbers and increasing the overall educational attainment within our community. The second piece of this addresses equity. And so this is not 60%. Well, it's probably 60% on an aggregate for the full community, but as we'll discuss in a little bit more detail today, there are educational attainment differences across a diverse population within Arizona. Now, this is not unique to Arizona, but we're here in this state. This is the community that we can impact. And as you can see here, there's some example Census Bureau data published by Achieve 60 on their website. And you can see the attainment level of individuals by race, ethnicity. Some of those individuals are relatively close to this 60% threshold. In the case of one, our Asian population are a little bit above that for the state. Our white non-Hispanic population is a little bit below that. And you can see for some of the other populations, there's a big difference between the current levels of educational attainment in the community and this 60% goal. And we see this for our Native American population, Black or African American, and our Hispanic or Latinx population. And within Achieve 60, the goal is to get every one of these populations to that 60% threshold. So whenever you think about Achieve 60, think of both of these components, reaching that 60% mark, but meeting that 60% across populations. Now, in 2017, through our current strategic plan, PIMA committed to a local focus aligned with this statewide effort. So you'll see an institutional goal within the current plan, which is Achieve 60 Pima County, which focuses again on both aspects of Achieve 60. And I will keep mentioning this because it's really important. So the overall rate and also addressing the educational attainment that we see in our community across diverse populations. Now, if we look at US Census Bureau data for our specific community, approximately 43% of residents currently aged between 25 and 64 hold an associate degree or higher. And so this means that roughly 86,000 additional credentialed residents are needed. But as part of that, what we need to keep in mind is there are currently individuals within our community who are, for example, age 60 or 61, who may hold a college level credential, But by the time we get to 2030, they will have kind of exited the top end of the age range. And so we need to keep in mind that it's that pipeline, that population up to ages 55 at the moment, who will contribute to this goal. And if we look at PIMA's current annual completion numbers, and if we make a few approximations, because of course we're not the only higher education provider located here in Tucson or serving students here with the University of Arizona in town as well, we need to roughly double our completion numbers in a given year, which is a fairly considerable change. We could see this as a significant challenge, but really this is a huge opportunity, because when we are successful on this, this is going to have a really big impact on the community that we serve. So let's take a look at how things currently look. So what you can see here on this slide is the educational attainment within Pima County in Arizona. So Pima County is the solid bars that you see here. The line represents Arizona, so we can see how we compare to the whole state. And we're looking at the attainment of individuals who are 25 years and older. You can see that there are a couple of fairly sizable bars partway through here. So these are our high school graduates, 22.6% of residents, and some college, close to 26%. Associate degree is lower. We have bachelor's degrees, master's, and higher level degrees. And as noted, around about 43% hold a college level credential or higher. But for Pima, some of our opportunities are those residents in our community who've completed high school, and also the individuals who have some college. So one of the questions for us as an institution is, how do we effectively engage with those populations, share the value of education? As we mentioned last time, there is a declining sense of the perceived value of an education within the United States. So how do we help individuals understand the opportunities that an education will open up to them? So this is, or these are, two of the populations that we can be thinking about. So we've been talking for a little while. I want to open this up to a question. So do you agree that increasing the educational attainment level in our community is important? And it's really tempting to editorialize a little bit about this particular question. I won't, because I don't want to skew the results. What I will do while you're looking at this question and thinking about this one is share another update. And this is again related to our accounting program. Oh, Anthony just deleted one. You did that one too? Okay.
Yeah, we did that one. So we're on the next one.
Okay. And I was busy trying to keep track, but it's hard to run this kind of event, remember when to move the slides and keep track of updates. So let me see. The Cybersecurity Operations Center was completed in October 2020. You actually saw a few slides about that a little bit earlier and heard some updates. And this center integrates with the student data system. Systems are being set up, which will give students experience as a security analyst. So for example, security incident event management software is being installed so students can perform security analysis on live data from the data center and other sources. The glass wall between the Cybersecurity Operations Center and the Fusion area provides a flexible teaching environment that can expand the space for a variety of activities. And this is one of the examples that was spoken about earlier, and one of my colleagues talked about the importance of the flexible learning environments and the way that we might leverage those. So let me come back over into Menti. Okay, everybody strongly agrees this is good. It would have complicated the morning no end if you had all disagreed with this statement, so that's awesome, thank you. And of course, we can talk at length about why this matters. And there's some interesting conversations to be had around it. Through the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we know that the likely cumulative earnings in a person's lifetime is directly associated with the educational level they have attained. Now, it will be interesting to see how that plays out as we think about things like micro-credentials and competencies, since the world is shifting, but the higher of course, we can get the educational level within our community, the better our chances of attracting different businesses to our community. So that contributes to our kind of function as one of the economic drivers within the community we serve. So kind of related to this, slightly different, the census data, which is the data source we look to when we try to understand the educational levels within our community, tends to look at very traditional educational outcomes. So as you saw in the previous section, they look at associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, and higher degrees, including master's and PhDs. Now, we know with some of the changes in focus that we see in the world around us, that there are other valid outcomes that students can receive. So industry credential would be one of these. This could be from, for example, the American Welding Society, and this will be something that is developed by the industry. It documents the defined levels that individuals need to reach, the skills they need to be able to demonstrate, and it's very widely recognized within the community or within employers within the community. So the question here, should those kinds of awards count? And I'm generally seeing fairly strong agreement with this. So let me see, 19 strongly agrees so far. 9 agrees. A couple of you disagree. I think we'll have some comments that you'll be able to submit soon. So I'll be interested to see, particularly if you disagreed with this, kind of why you disagree. What is it that stands out to you for this? And likewise, for those of you who agree with the statement. Oh, a couple of neutrals coming in. All right. So let me go on to the next one, because I think on the next one you can submit comments. And it's great to see the council responses, but I love to read the comments as they come in to find out the why behind some of the responses. So please go ahead and share your comments as you were responding to this question. And you can include both if you have comments about the first one too. Share your perspectives on this. Are you thinking about industry credentials as you think about the education levels that you feel should count towards the 60%? Some of you may be familiar with competencies which are being discussed, where people learn specific skills to support them in particular areas. So please give that some thought and enter your comments in there. Let me know what you think. And while you're doing that, let me share with you another update. So using funds allotted for the improvement of educational technology on the West Campus, approximately 20 classrooms and studios in the arts division will receive upgrades to furniture and equipment in 2021. In addition, the recital hall and proscenium theatre are being outfitted for live streaming capabilities, including the installation of a switchable camera system, new microphones, upgraded wiring and networking, and more. All of these projects should be completed in 2021. The design and installation of a roof structure over the multifunctional outdoor space used for studio classes in the visual arts, which includes sculpture, metalworking, and ceramics, will also be completed in 2021. So another very interesting update on the improvements we are making to the facilities of the institution to expand our capabilities and provide an even better learning experience for our students. So let me see what we have coming in here. So a credential leads to career advancement. We should promote lifelong learning. Absolutely. And this is one of the things I may have mentioned at the previous event. Some of the conversations internally has been, how do we leverage the foundation and institutional alumni to engage with them and maintain a relationship with them through their career and into retirement. We know long gone, right, are the days when you'd get a job and you'd have a career for life. The typical worker these days changes career a number of times in their lifetime. And this is an opportunity for us to support the people who've attended us as students, to provide additional trainings that may help them kind of change their skill set, change career, whatever it is they want to do. Let me see what else do we have coming in. The value of certifications is increasing in workforce development. The value of degrees has decreased in certain fields, in terms of financial rewards. This is another important one. So I mentioned there's that shift within the community, not specific to PIMA, but within the US, where it used to be that many people valued a college education. Now it's less than 50% consider a college education very important. And I think some of this is there's this growth of these different education providers and that competitive landscape that we talked about last time. It's creating options of how people can develop the skills they need in a particular career. And it's something we need to position ourselves to be ready for. Industry credentials lead to rewarding careers. Not everyone needs a degree, but most people need skills that allow them to advance in their career and change careers. Oh, this is a good one. Credentialing speaks to real world, not academia. And that speaks to us on so many levels, because it's important for us, well, it's important for every education provider, but for us as a community college and the range of offerings we have to ensure the students leave us with the skills they need to be successful in the career path they've chosen. So I can certainly be guilty of doing this, of getting kind of invested in like little academic corners of my discipline in which I'm trained. But the bottom line is there are outcomes that we need, and there are practical skills students need to develop.
Hey,
All right,
Nick, can I chime in for a second?
Absolutely, please do.
Yeah, there's a comment here about we need informed citizenry, not worker bees. And hopefully you don't hear that banging in the background, but I can through my noise canceling headphones, so I'm sure you can. But anyway, I think I would agree with that, but what I might challenge us to think about is how do we have an informed citizenry for everyone, not just folks who are pursuing BAs and MAs and things like that, but how can you get a certificate, you know, and get that blue collar job, but still have that informed citizenry. What is it you mean by that, and how does that apply to all of our students and not just some of our students? I guess that's the question I'm left when I read that comment. But thank you so much for putting the comments in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I was reading through some of these as Anthony was speaking. A lot of really good comments, and the one about I don't see it right now, about seat time being I can't remember the exact phrasing you used, but a very outdated way of thinking about education. It kind of is. Now, for us as an institution, there are many compliance matters we need to focus on, and that's one of them when it relates to financial aid. But really, the value in education is in the outcomes. It's what students learn, right? All right, good. Okay, so I'm going to move us along. Let's take a look at the next item in here. But great comments, and thank you for being here and sharing your input today. So this next question takes a little bit of explaining. So Anthony, if I'm not clear, please jump in.
I will do my best.
Me too. And I have plenty of coffee, so hopefully this is going to work fine. So I want to ask you a question about our approach to awards. So PIMA has a range of offerings. I think everybody on the line knows this, right? So we have credit offerings, we have offerings within workforce, we have adult education, and we have other pathways available for students. And every single one of those is important, and the right path is going to be specific on the individual student. When we present ourselves, and this applies to how we communicate externally, but it also really speaks to how we operate internally. These are fairly distinct, separate areas, though there's increasing overlap between the two. But students from the start generally need to know the route they want to proceed from those options. So they need to know if they're looking for an associate degree, or if they want to go to adult education. They need to know that as they come to us. So I have a question about how we approach this, and I want to be really clear. This is not a question about, well, do we need to reorganize the college? I'm not asking that at all. This is more about the internal philosophy we take as we think about how we offer our educational programs and how we collaborate across different areas. And it's also about external communication, of how do we package these offerings and communicate them to our students to make this as clear and as easy as possible for them as they start to engage with the institution. So I have two options. What I'd like you to think about is which of these would be better for our learners. So option one, where it starts, select educational branch of the college. This is essentially kind of how we operate now. So does a student come to us knowing that they want training related to workforce, that they want an associate degree, a certificate, or to go into adult education? So that's kind of how we work today, I would say. Or should we start thinking about things? And I would say this really aligns with some of the comments Dr. Dore shared about the Centers for Excellence. Do we think in terms of the content area? And so for a student, when they first come to us, if they're interested in, say, applied technology, I'll pick on that one since it's the example here. And then they connect with that area and then go, oh, you know what? I think an IBEST program would be best for me. Or I want to get an industry credential that's going to help me get a job in this area. Or I want an associate's degree, because maybe they're looking to get experience from us and more practical skills, complete some of the first 2 years of their classes to then transfer on to one of the universities, depending on the pathway they have in mind. Okay, so I'm seeing pretty overwhelming preference for the second one. And Anthony, was I good and clear on that? I want to make sure we're getting the right response to the right question.
Yeah, I think you were. You know, the idea is a little shift of, you know, I know what my end goal is going to be, you know, credential wise, as opposed to, hey, you know, I really think, you know, robots are cool, you know, so what can I do with an interest in robots? And then, and so that I think kind of makes some sense. But, you know, if you truly believe that, you know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what that first one is, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, I want to make money. What can I do that makes money? Or, you know, I want to transfer to the U of A and that's what I know. Like, that's kind of that first option there. And there are, you know, 86 folks watching. So, you know, only 4 have responded. So I know it can seem overwhelming with that giant yellow block there, but it's a legitimate question. We don't know what's best, and we need to know what you think. And so, click away.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to move us on to the next slide. I think this one is asking for your comments and your input on this particular topic. So let me move here. So what do you think about this? Whichever way you responded, or if you hadn't submitted comments or responded to that question yet, give it some thought here and see what you think in terms of what this means to you, why it's important, why you think one would be better than the other. And I think I mentioned this before, but just in case I didn't, all of the comments that you share with us today during this event will get shared with the strategic planning team, which is a diverse group at the institution comprised of faculty, staff, administrators. I have a couple of student members as well on that group. And your comments and your input will directly inform the priorities that we align ourselves around in the next strategic plan. So I cannot stress how important your comments are. So please go ahead and provide your input here. So let me share another brief update while you are filling in items here. So we have expanded industry recognized certifications in applied technology, IT, and workforce development. There's also improved tracking mechanisms in place with a baseline via the Opportunity America survey. That's a very timely update, given the fact we're talking about these different ways of packaging things, and this relates directly to industry recognized credentials. So let me see. The second one would require more than just 2 career counselors for the institution. It assumes that students are decided when they begin, and so many are not. That's very true. We see that with students who alternate from program to program. I think part of the thinking for the second option is that many students may not know exactly what pathway is right for them, be it IBEST, associate, certificate, transfer route, but that many of them probably know the subject area they're interested in, be it the sciences, applied technology, the arts, and so that we can kind of route them to a particular area, and then when they get there, help them think through what their options are. Okay, PIMA is a very complex organization, processes need to be simplified so students understand how to achieve their goals. Yeah. One of the things we've talked about the planning team, it came about looking at somebody else's mission statement actually, but a variation of it was like, well, education in one click. How can we make things so easy for our students that it's as close to one click as we can make it, that they can get to the institution and get into the program they're interested in? Now, as I mentioned, we have some compliance requirements that we have to make sure we meet. So it's never going to be quite that easy. But what can we do to make our processes as simple as possible? And I know lots of work has been done on that within our student affairs office and other areas of the institution. And depending on how we do with some updates, we have a number of exciting updates from that particular area on some of the enhancements over the last couple of years. Let me see. What other comments do we have? Actually, students don't click, they hover. Oh. How exactly would this work? That's a great question. And that's one I'm going to be putting to the strategic planning team to think through some of the options about how we might think about it.
Just a quick chime in here. We're using Menti to gather comments, but if, let's say, you missed a slide or something occurs to you later, that happens to me a lot. The YouTube chat we will also capture, and we will use that as well. Or if something occurs to you, if you're one of those people, oh, I should have said 4 days ago in this specific conversation I was having this person when they said this thing, that happens to me. Then you can just email Nick or myself, and we take those emails to the planning team as well. That's it. That's all I got.
Good. That's important. Thank you. All right, let's go on to our next item in here. Oh, I have a question for you. This is a fun one. So I mentioned earlier on that part of Achieve 60 focuses on ensuring across our diverse population, the attainment level is 60% across different groups. So what do you think is the answer to this one? In Pima County, what is the percentage point difference between the bachelor's degree attainment for white non-Hispanic females and Hispanic males? Curious to see. So we've got one response so far, over 20. I know it will take a moment for different things to come in. Let me see. Nobody thinks there's no difference. Slightly higher a number of people at the moment for over 20, but it's close. Oh, it's neck and neck, 15 to 20 and over 20%. Always feels like watching a horse race. Who's going to win? Who's in the lead? All right, so responses are mostly skewed towards a higher percentage point difference. Pretty close. Over 20 has it at the moment. Oh, no, it's a tie again. All right, okay. Well, let's take a look at how this looks within our community. Thank you for your responses on this one. Let's see how this looks. So here we're looking at college graduates by race. In this case, based on the data source we're looking at, this is bachelor's degree or higher. So this doesn't include the associate degree in this case. And again, we have the bars of Pima County, the solid lines are Arizona. So we can compare how we look across the state. And they're separated with female percentages on this side, male percentages on the other. Now, the immediate thing to notice here is there is not a single race ethnicity group in our community that reaches 60%. So as we think about the work we need to do within our community, we need to be working to raise the attainment level across all populations. However, you can clearly see that there are some groups where the gap is bigger than others. And the answer to that previous question is it's 20% and over, as you can see here, comparing across the different groups that we have. So you can clearly see that for our Hispanic or Latinx population, the attainment rate for bachelor's degrees or higher is 15% for females, closer to 13% for males. And you can see the other population is also similarly low. And I should stress that within this population are our Native American population, and they see similar levels than our Hispanic population. So there are some groups for whom really significant change needs to happen within our community. So let me take us on to the next question. So you saw what this looks like for Pima County. Do you think there are differences in education attainment at Pima by gender or race ethnicity? And on this one, I'm going to hand you back over to Anthony, who's going to take over leading the discussion for a little while.
Yes, I will be talking for a little bit. Yeah, and so this one is, you know, that you saw sort of bigger numbers, but here it's asking, do you think that there are differences here at Pima in and of itself? And so we'll give you, you know, we got the 30-second delay, so we're going to give some folks a chance, an opportunity there to go through. And are we at, did we talk about West Campus, Nick?
Yeah, we talked about West Campus, and we also did the one after that. So we are on Thrive in the 05.
Thrive in the 05 is based in the 85705 zip code and is a collaboration of innovations in community-based crime reduction led by Arizona State University School of Social Work, Choice Neighborhoods, led by City of Tucson Housing and Community Development, and Workforce and Economic Development, led by Pima Community College in partnership with the City of Tucson Economic Initiatives. Pima Community College's role with Thrive in the 05 is a pioneering partnership with the City of Tucson designed to enhance workforce and economic development efforts anchored in cultivating strategic partnerships among a diverse array of community stakeholders, including residents, local businesses, industry, nonprofits, economic development organizations, and local governments, to name a few. PCC engages in Thrive in the 05 local businesses by providing timely resources and technical support. We also help to explore new economic development opportunities through training and education for residents, students, and business and industry partners. The geographic anchor of Thrive in the 05 is the Downtown Campus Center for Excellence in Applied Technology. Current construction and property acquisition along Drachman have already begun to catalyze physical transformations of the area. Thrive in the 05 efforts have created an innovative new template for workforce development responsiveness to the rapidly changing community needs and dynamics accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic throughout the entire Tucson community. And I want to say thank you, because we had briefly mentioned this in the last Futures Conference, but I had no knowledge, no details. So someone sent us a lot of details that we got to share. Thank you so much for that. And it sounds like a great program. You know, anchored in a physical location too, which I think is particularly grounding, might be the right word for this kind of virtual online year. In terms of, do we think there are differences in educational outcomes at PCC? Yes, overwhelmingly, yes, we do. And I think that is correct. So that's good. And here we have, I'm gonna let Nick just kind of lead us through the data a little bit, because I don't want to say anything egregiously stupid.
So I can share just a little bit about this. So the figures that you see here are from Pima's fall 2012 Voluntary Framework of Accountability Metrics. So these are figures that we look to as an institution to help us understand how we're doing in terms of the progress and outcomes of our students. Here we're looking at 6-year outcomes, and so you can see the total associate degrees and certificates as a percentage of the starting cohort of students from fall 2012. And we can see this broken out in this case by race ethnicity, though for those of you who are internal to the college, you can slice and dice these data in different ways through our BI system. And we can also see, for example, no award and transferred and other possible outcomes. Now, there's a number of things that stand out in here. And really what we want to highlight is the different outcomes that we see across different diverse populations. So if we start with this no award or transferred column, This is one of my soapboxes at the institution because I always want to see students earning an associate degree or certificate before they transfer, because we know not everyone will be successful at the university. And if they leave with something from us, then their investment in their education is not wasted. But you can see for different groups, so for example, our white non-Hispanic population, around about 36% of them transfer with no award, while for our Hispanic or Latinx population, it's 23%. And that's the difference between 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. And so our Latinx students don't transfer with no award at the same rate. But if we look at total associate degrees and certificates with or without transfer, there's a very slight difference of 18.6% for Latinx, about 18% for white. It's barely anything though, it's less than 1 percentage point. And if we look through this column of students who've come to PIMA who complete an associate degree or certificate in their first 6 years, the number's really low for some of our minority students. So our Black or African American population, it's 11%. That's close to 1 in 10 students. And so this tells us that as an institution, we need to be thinking carefully about how we effectively engage with and support the diverse students that we serve. And with that, back to you, Anthony.
Great, yeah, thanks for contextualizing that. And so just having a look at these numbers here to see what we can reflect on here. We're going to ask another question. It's a strongly agree to strongly disagree question. But do you agree that Pima Community College should be more intentional in how it supports educational needs across diverse student populations? Now, if your immediate response is to say something more than strongly agree to strongly disagree, we'll have that opportunity on the next slide to kind of give your caveats to that. But if you could say which one of these best represents your opinion at the moment, that'd be excellent. And while we wait for the delay, again, there's a 30-second delay, so I want to give you all on YouTube a chance to respond. Updates from the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Educational Services and Institutional Integrity include interesting data on general education outcomes yielded by the co-curricular assessment led by AQI. Financial aid implemented a chatbot in 2019 and live text in 2020. Text nudging is coming soon in summer 2021. Financial aid has also brought their phone, call, email response services back in-house and has increased effectiveness and quality service delivery based on 8 months of data. An increased percentage of students are now included in the correct program of study through a centralized process in the registrar's office. The cumulative GPA for all athletic teams for academic year 2019 to 2020 was 3.01. An athletic walk of fame has been installed at West Campus, leading to the FSS building. It's Fitness Sports Sciences, I believe. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that update. What do we got? Couple disagree, one disagree, couple strongly disagree, mostly strongly agree or agree that we should be more intentional. And I think that the devil's in the details of what do we mean by intentional. And again, I'm just gonna give you a few more seconds because we have about 86 folks. Oh, no, we moved. So that's fine. So how do we engage with and support our diverse student population? So if you missed the last slide, you can go ahead and put it in here. You can say agree and your comments or disagree and your comments. But yeah, everything will be, so how is it we can be more intentional with our support of diverse student populations? And so while you're typing that, again, we'll kind of give a couple minutes for this because we're asking for text. I will share some updates. The Pima Community College District Governing Board has voted not to increase tuition or college-wide service fees for the 21 to 22 academic year. At its regular meeting on March 10th, the board voted unanimously to keep per credit tuition rates at their current levels, which include in-state residential rates of 87 per credit hour. The governing board did not change service fees charged by the college. And that one was short, but a really excellent piece of information in my view. I'm going to go ahead and read the next one, which has to do about adult education. So Pima Community College adult education instructor Consuela Carrillo has been named National Teacher of the Year by the Coalition for Adult Basic education, COAB. I think that's right. A full-time educator with PIMA's adult. First of all, congratulations, Consuelo. That's amazing. A full-time educator with PIMA's adult-based education for college and career since 2012. She currently teaches an early integrated basic education and skills training course in partnership with Microsoft that focuses on computer science and the Python coding language. And Namaning Carrillo, Jody Perrin, an assistant program manager at Puebla Liberty Adult Learning Center, said, Consuelo is an exceptional teacher with a rare gift for empowering student independence in her classes. The students and the learning are always the center of attention. That's amazing. That's such great news. Thank you for sharing. And what do we have over here? How do we engage with and support our diverse student population? Provide resources to help them succeed in their courses. Involve our student senators regarding outreach. They should be able to speak to this from personal experience. Designated HSI, half our students are Latinx, a Latinx Center of Excellence in Learning, more focused on recruiting and retention. That's an interesting idea I've never heard before. Thank you for sharing that. Continue to dismantle racism embedded within institutionalized policies, practice, and curriculum. Understanding the future job market, helping our students find their path. That's some good stuff here. We still only have about 24 comments. I'm hoping to get a little more. Our audience has dwindled, Nick. We're down to 87 from 92. That's okay though. I'm glad folks have been able to come and watch, but we get a few more comments here. But what's our timeline looking like? We got 10:25. Maybe we should move along. We have a few more slides. Let's, if you have more comments, please put them in the chat, or again, you can always reach Nick and I afterwards. We will capture the comments, but I think we will move to the next slide. So this slide we've talked about in the last Future Conference. We talked about affordability. We talked about it some here. We just got that news item about the board voting to not increase tuition. And then obviously this is just from Arizona Community College, but when we talk about affordable, whatever our tuition is going to be, we're going to have students who struggle to pay. Like I think I can 100% understand that. But the context of where we say, oh, we are affordable is based, I think, in relation to competitors and our peers. And so this is in comparison to our peers, or a couple, we're sort of here, I'm not going to call this the middle because, it's over here, but it's about on par, I would think. I don't know. I'm not sure how you'd interpret this. I'm not going to interpret it for you, but here's where we sit, the simple facts. I thought would be important to share where we sit in relation to the other community colleges in Arizona. Obviously, the choices in Tucson may or may not necessarily include that. There are online programs. For example, Maricopa has Rio Salado. I don't know offhand whether or not that's what they charge a PIMA student, so maybe not. I don't know if Rio Salado has its own special tuition either. So I'm not sure if these are necessarily when we talk about what our students' choices are, or but if they certainly, it's the choices of their community college in the state. And so that's some valuable information here. But when we do talk about this, we're leading to talk to discussions about how can we support our students and how can we incentivize or even reduce the cost of attendance even further, both with tuition and other fees and expenses. And there have been some considerations here. And so on the next slide, we've been talking about some of this in the strategic planning team. And just as some background information, one of the ideas that got floated to the planning team was Arizona Western College's Promise program. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, in a nutshell, it's any high school graduate who goes to AWC and finishes their 2-year degree and then transfers within 5 semesters and has FAFSA every semester will receive a reimbursement for all of their out-of-pocket expenses. And so you can take a look at that. They have to be a graduate of a La Paz or Yuma County. They have to, again, go to the college full-time. And so there's a lot of ways that those conditions sort of really offset some of the cost in terms of making sure that you apply for the FAFSA. A lot of students don't fill that out correctly or can't get the support they need. And so that was floated in the strategic planning team of, well, can PIMA do something like that? And we had talked a little bit about that, and some things to consider is this phrase, skin in the game, the importance of having students having some sort of investment initially, and in order to keep them, the idea is that they're, if they've put something on the table, they're more likely to take it seriously, more likely to be invested, more likely to follow through. Reimbursing cost has a significant implication to fundraising and the PCC Foundation. I'm not sure that I can elaborate on that one. Can you, Nick?
I certainly can, if I can unmute myself fast enough. So one of the things that we're looking at actually through strategy analytics and research is looking at the current out-of-cost expenses incurred by students who complete with us. So some of that is covered through federal financial aid, but some of it is not. And so depending on what possible initiatives we might move forward on, we could have, as we double our completion rates, several thousand students a year who complete, who incurred some level of out-of-pocket expenses. These would be potentially students who didn't receive any financial aid, or students who received some financial aid but incurred some other costs as well. And if we commit to reimbursing those out-of-pocket expenses, that funding has to come from somewhere, and it would need to be supported through the PIMA Foundation. And so when we think about the efforts to the foundation, which of course we've shared some updates, there's been incredible levels of success bringing in funding and support for our students through the foundation. But as we think about the potential figure we may be committing ourselves, if we look to reimburse out-of-pocket expenses, then we need to make sure that we're building those channels to ensure if we commit to that, we can follow through on that. And so that would be a lot we would look to Marcy Euler, who leads our foundation, to figure out how we do that.
Yeah, sorry, thanks for the reminder. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode of The Office where Michael Scott has Michael's kids and he promises a class full of school kids that he'd pay for their college education if they finish high school, and it's, the chickens came home to roost and he has nothing to give them. That's what we want to avoid, right? So if we say we're going to be able to do it, we have to be able to do it, and we're going to have to reprioritize other things in order to do so. And another consideration when we're talking about how do we support students and make college more affordable for them is whether or not the challenge is the costs themselves or the packaging of the costs. And if I get this right, you don't need to chime in, but if you want to add something, please do, Nick. But the idea here is there can be a lot of hidden costs. If we package our programs to be affordable and we advertise that we are courses, but we don't actually let students know what those courses are, or how would it be if you said, okay, well, I am interested in robots, and you go to applied technology and they say, well, here's what we can offer as an associate's degree for robot getting, and here's how much it's going to cost. And that includes everything. That includes the books, the tuition. And so then the plan can be at the onset of how the student can plan for that. But it's those unexpected costs, I think, that could be a problem we can try to solve instead of just reimbursing the costs. Is that about right, Nick? Good. I'm seeing Nick nod, so that's great. So on the next Mentee, we're going to have a ranking of what you think might be the best approach to support our students. And here are just 5 ideas. They're not the only ideas, but they are the 5 that we'd like you to rank now. And then after this, we'll have a comments and other ideas section. But we have reimburse out-of-pocket expenses on successful completion, reimburse out-of-pocket expenses on successful progress. So the difference being whether or not, like, AWC reimburses when you complete, you're done and you transferred. Whereas another idea had meant, well, what if they, do successfully one semester and re-enroll the next semester? Can we reimburse that? Because we have a lot of students who aren't necessarily going to be here for 2 whole years. That's an idea as well. A fixed cost by award. So instead of paying, as you go. Oh, changed. I got to read faster. The next one is increased support for non-academic costs. And the 5th is employer-sponsored scholarship internship. So we'll let you rank those, and I'll continue talking about the wonderful things that are going on in the college and the community while you do that. Admissions application reboot. Enrollment management, registrar's office, and IT enterprise rebooted the college's admissions application in April 2020. Driven by student, faculty, and staff feedback, the new application offers a student-friendly, more intuitive, and easier to navigate experience. Improvements are continuously being made to better the student experience. Also, did you know that the college has a chatbot? The Ocelot chatbot is available 24/7 to answer questions related to admissions, academic advising, financial aid, accounts receivables, and veteran services. The chatbot can also connect students with a live PCC staff member and any of the aforementioned departments. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go look for that and see what it tells me to do. That's great. And so we have about 35 folks have responded so far, and we're getting some rankings here. Cool. We'll give this just a few more seconds here. Sorry, I have to. The allergies are real with me. Great. So let's turn this over to comments and other ideas. So perhaps there's an idea that wasn't listed there, or what we listed only captured a fraction of your idea, or you really liked one of the ideas that we mentioned today and you just kind of want to let us know. Please do that here. And I'm just checking my notes as to where I am and what I'm doing. Okay, great. Student affairs leadership. We have reorganized student affairs so that all of our program advisors and counselors are serving on teams to support students based on their program of study. Additionally, enrollment advisors, specialists, advising liaisons, program developers, career counselors, and student life coordinators also support these teams. Students have an assigned advisor or counselor, and students who are undecided are assigned to our career counselors. Our PIMA Connect system helps our teams manage student caseloads and connect with students via early alerts, appointments, and other messaging within PIMA Connect. I've used the PIMA Connect. I like it. I'm ashamed to admit that I was surprised that I liked it. Well, it worked. It was it's easy for me as an instructor last year to use it. So I had a good experience with it. I don't know if you had or not, but please feel free to share. Here we're getting a couple in here. Yeah, someone's advocating fiscal prudence. Yeah, the skin in the game thing is important. That's true. But I think what I was surprised to learn about the way AWC works, because they're kind of in the same boat that we are in a lot of different ways. Although they have some athletics, I think, endowments there that were helping. I had looked at their budget a while back. I don't know too much about it now, but is that by having someone go full time and fill out that FAFSA, is that a lot of the students were getting the FAFSA support and that their outlay wasn't as much as you'd assume it would be. But I definitely hear that concern. Merit needs to be considered. Guaranteed costs for 2 years, so students know that their costs will remain consistent. Good. Dual enrollment scholarships for students who have graduated high school with dual enrollment course of success and continue at PCC. Great. Excellent. OER, yep. The OER, there are a lot of OER options, but one of the things we had been talking about was it's sort of difficult to know what is an OER course and what isn't. So that's a good point. Ideally, tuition should be as free, or as the state constitution says, nearly as free as possible. Oh, I missed it. Great. Yeah, we've got about 18 comments, so I'd like to give that a little more time to go. Enrollment advising, proactive outreach. Student affairs enrollment advisors proactively reach out to students within 7 days or less of applying to offer assistance with any of the enrollment steps. The phone calls from enrollment advisors offer personal touch and a warm welcome to PIMA. It's a great way for students to start off their educational journey. Agreed. Black belt help. I thought this was about karate when I first started reading it, but it isn't. In October 2020, Student Affairs partnered with Black Belt Help to offer one-stop 24/7 call center services for admissions, registration, and advising. To date, Black Belt Help has answered 23,000 phone calls, 3,500 emails, and 250 chats to help support PIMA students virtually. That's awesome. Okay. We have 26, but I want to make sure we have time for the rest of our presentation here. So if you have more ideas, keep changing them. The next slide, we're going to ask for what you think. If we want to achieve 60's goal of getting 60% a degree or certificate for each one of those groups, we need a kind of a game-changing initiative to support student progress. What we had talked about before, comparing to see what AWC was doing was one idea. But what are some of the other ideas of something that's kind of, we sometimes call it a big, hairy, audacious goal, or a wildly important goal, or just something just kind of really big. Like, what's a big game changer in terms of how can we meet that? And so this is the kind of a place-based of wish list, dream big. Stick it on here and let's see, maybe that's the one that we can go with. Give a few minutes for that. Here's an Access and Disability Resources update. In August 2020, Access and Disability Resources, ADR's PACE program, Personalized Academic Coaching Experience, held a virtual open house. 2 sessions were offered in both the morning and afternoon, inviting guests to stop by and meet the PACE coaches. We had several visitors at each session, as well as a few program specialists on hand. Our guests asked questions about the work coaches do, who they serve, and how students are referred. Many were especially interested in Access Hub, our virtual social group, which meets weekly, virtually open to all ADR students. The coaches did an excellent job highlighting the work they do. They detailed the skills they help students build to move toward becoming independent learners and successful PIMA students. Great work. Micro Pathways badging, industry partnerships, high touch advising for every single student. Community conversations and visions with students, future students and alumni on what their barriers are and how PCC can meet their needs. Remove cumbersome barriers. Apprenticeships at scale, jobs to Raytheon pipeline. That's a big one, yeah. More with high schools. My watch said hello. Oh, someone's in the driveway. I was very happy at the time to get a camera in the front of my house, but now it just beeps a lot. So I don't know if it was worth it. That's my random Anthony commentary. Reverse transfer, yeah, we have talked about that one. Great. Do you want to give it another minute or so? And I think I'm handing this back to Nick now. So I think I'm going to hand it back to Nick, and when you're ready, you can go to the next slide. I'm about to cough, so I'm going to go off the mic.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Anthony, for leading the conversation through the sections we've been looking at. So I'll pause here for just a moment in case there are any other comments related to student progress. But while I do that, let me set the stage for the next question. So we're going to go to another open text question, and it's similar to this, but it looks at a different point in the student pipeline. So specifically regarding completion, persistence and student progress is obviously key in that, but we wanted to see if you have any ideas about specific completion-focused initiatives. So let me move us along to that question. So as I mentioned earlier, for us to make progress towards the Achieve 60 goal, we essentially need to double our completion numbers in a given year. Now, anything we can do to increase access to the institution, which was part of the reason for the cost discussion, and anything we can do to support progress is important. But there are some initiatives at other institutions that PIMA is either in the process of exploring or is talking about that we may be able to leverage to specifically increase completion. So to give you two examples, one would be auto-confer when students complete the courses for an award, so they don't have to go through the process of applying for graduation, that is more automatic, and that is processed for them by the institution. There are some considerations from a financial aid point of view with that, but it's something we can think about. And I know some offices of the college are. There's also reverse transfer. We know roughly a third of our students will transfer without receiving an award from us. If they're close to completion, and if while they're at, say, the university, they complete the courses that would equal a certificate or a PIMA associate degree, then working to kind of automate that process so those courses kind of roll back to us so that we can award that degree for them. Now, again, there are considerations with that as well, particularly since that would involve sharing student level information across institutions. So this becomes a question of where do we want to prioritize our efforts? What do we think will have the most significant impact for our students? So let me see, we have a few comments come in. So high touch mentoring for every single student. Redefine definition of completion. Now, I'm going to take that maybe to include the things we talked about earlier. So having an industry credential, for example, count as a completion. But for anybody who entered that, I see another comment that's similar. If you have specific things that are in your mind when you think about changing the definition of completion, please enter that in here. So we have that. So much lies with the instructor and support system at PIMA. Do students feel welcome and acknowledged? Constant communication. Yep, really important. Now I'll give you a moment longer to enter some comments in here. And while I'm doing that, let me share one of the updates that we have. This is another one from Student Affairs. And as part of virtualizing Student Affairs services, the QLess line management system was leveraged to create virtual callback advising services. Virtual callback advising saves students time, increases efficiency, and is a safe option for students to connect with an advisor. Since July 2020, so what's that, 7-8 months, over 25,000 student advising interactions occurred with over a 93% satisfied or very satisfied experience rating, which is hugely positive, and that's awesome. 25,000 students, isn't that great? So many people. So let me see what else do we have come in over here. Shorter segmented micro credentials, each of which leads to a job with easy entry, exit, entry options, helping students get jobs faster and then re-registering when they are ready to commit to further educational opportunities. Absolutely. I know we had a conversation as part of the planning work for this, talking about some of the 3 credit hour classes that the college offers and whether we can build in 1 credit hour completion points in those. So we know life happens, right, for our students, and they can't always make it through a class, but it's how can we build our curriculum so they get partial credit for that and they can pick up another semester when they're able to come back. All right, good. Very good input I'm seeing coming in here, but I'm keeping an eye on the time. I've got a couple more things I want to ask you all about. So let's move on to the next one. But as Anthony commented, if you have other comments that come to mind for you during the tail end of the session, please feel free to put that in the chat in YouTube. A member of my team will be copying all of those comments, so we have a record of that as well. So I have a couple of quick questions related to prioritization. We cannot do everything. We have only so many staff, so many hours in the day, and we need to be selective. We need to identify high impact initiatives and ensure we have the resources to fully commit to those initiatives so we can start, do really good work, make a big impact for our students, and focus on those institutional priorities. So I have a few ranking questions. These are really to help us as we think about the items that are important or most important to place within the strategic plan. We've tried to group things around similar themes. We have 3 or 4 of these, and we'll just take a moment on each one. So for this, packaging offerings across credit and non-credit. So this relates to the topic earlier when I was asking about, do we say thinking about things the way we do today, or do we kind of change how we package across the range of offerings we have in a particular subject area? Focusing on credit for prior learning. So full or partial, I should explain that. So we have a prior learning assessment process in place. When I say partial, this relates to the comment I was making earlier about, well, if people make it halfway through a class in a given semester, can they get partial credit for that class? In a way, it's kind of internal prior learning assessment almost. It's a slightly different way of thinking about it to what we currently do, but this wouldn't replace what we do. Of course, it would expand what we do in this area. Program offerings based on community need is another one. So I see that one's currently got the top spot here. And so, of course, that's a relevancy of our awards. And I haven't made this comment today, but it's a really important one that I want to make sure I say. We're looking to increase completion numbers, but these need to be completion numbers in awards or industry certs or whatever it might be that increase that are directly relevant to the student and the community. We don't want to saturate the market in something just because it's easy for us to churn out completers in a given area. Every single student who comes to PIMA who is seeking to use their education to build their work skills, for example, they should be earning something that brings value to them, that will help them in the workplace. All right, so developing short-term credentials, I see in the middle there, and these are actually really pretty close together, which is really interesting. I see the order changing for 2nd through 5th there. Changing program offerings based on community needs. That seems pretty comfortable in the top spot there. And of course, the centers for excellence that you heard about earlier are directly related to that and making sure we're aligning with what the community needs from us. Okay, good. All right, interesting. Okay, thank you for your input on this one. Let's take a look at the next one. So here are some different items. How would you prioritize these? So addressing financial challenges with academic expenses. So of course, from the student perspective, relates to the question we asked earlier. Supporting the broader student financial needs. Educational costs is one thing, but for many students we've heard from, particularly during the pandemic, but also before, they struggle to have housing. They struggle to have food to eat. And are those things barriers to them being able to pursue their education? Because there are certain core needs we all have, right? And we need a roof over our heads. We need to be able to feed our families. And that's going to be a more pressing concern sometimes for people than their academics. Addressing student technology gaps. This is something that again has shown up during the pandemic because there is very different access to technology and the internet across different areas within our community. And that's been definitely made worse through the pandemic since so much has been based from home for many of us. Okay, what do we have? So improving clarity of communication to the student. Just kind of duking it out there with addressing financial challenges with academic expenses. Okay, good. All right, let's see what the next one of these is. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but cannot stress enough, if something occurs to you that you just wish you'd been able to respond to here, you can go ahead and do that in the chat. So here we have some aspects of the student experience. Now, we could argue every single one of these is important. The question would be that we're putting to all of you is if you had to rank these, if you had to pick like the one of these that we focus on more than the others, as I mentioned before, this is really how do we apply our resources to get the maximum benefit for our students. So is it building the population of prospects? So this is the connections within the community of potential students who might come here. The first year experience, progress, persistence and retention. So fall to spring, fall to fall, those kinds of measures, completion, or alumni engagement. I'll give you a moment here until we get to around about 30 responses, which I think is where we've been for the other ones. Student progress, I see high on the list here. And of course, progress is going to help with completion, but there's often the conversation that it's easier to keep a student who is already attending an institution than go out into the community and identify new students to come into the college. All right, so student progress is ahead in this one, but then we have some pretty close together. Prospects, first year experience, and student completion. And it really is difficult to think across these different topics. So thank you all for your input on this one. Now I think I have one more of these ranking questions left, and then we will start wrapping up. So this one is more operational. Always at these kinds of events, we are interested in focusing on our students, the services we provide. That is our reason for existing. But there are operational considerations that are important. We need to be an effective organization. So here's a set of choices. These are all things that have come up through various earlier planning related conversations. So focus on a clear set of priorities, become less reactionary, increase effectiveness, build internal trust, or address siloed processes. And these are all areas where I would say there's been work done over the course of the last few years, but we're like everyone, we're not perfect. There are always areas we can improve. And so absolutely the goal here is to find out a little bit more from all of you about what stands out as the most important. So I see focus on a clear set of priorities in the lead a little bit. And that's actually one of the things we're working to address through the strategic plan, to help build out a seamless process connecting the master plans, the strategic plan, and the operational plans, so we can have that real clear laser focus on a subset of goals that every single person at this institution will be focused on and working to improve. So let me take us to the next slide. So I want to give you a moment to be able to give your comments related to prioritization. So this could be any one of the 4 different prioritization statements that we just had. What stands out to you about this? What's important? And since this is comments related, let me share probably the last update for today. So in the summer of 2019, Student Affairs and Arizona Online formed a partnership and referral network to facilitate enrollment and transfer opportunities for students. The partnership allows University of Arizona to refer inadmissible students to PIMA to take courses or complete a program to eventually transfer into a University of Arizona online program. To date, the students referred to us have enrolled in 362 credit hours at PIMA. Student Affairs continues to take the lead on enrollment and transfer opportunities for our students. And many thanks to the team in Student Affairs for the many good things going on in that area. We've shared a number of updates today. We will have more updates from that area of the institution at the next Futures Conference. So let me see, too many shiny objects. Student retention and completion is most important. I started to read a comment, it disappeared and it came back. So regrettably, these are all things that need to be done. They are. In prioritization, we need to be thinking which order are we getting all these things done rapidly? And speed. Speed is key, right? Really, really important. All right, so I'm going to pause for just a moment here. We're pretty much at the end. I'm watching the time. I know we have 2 minutes left. I'll make sure we are done on time. And I think actually we're going to wrap up with a word cloud, which, as Anthony mentioned, when I was putting this together, I was in word cloud mood, which is unusual for me actually, but I was for this one. Now, as commented, if I move on and you have a comment you really want to submit, you can submit that in the YouTube chat, and you can also email it to Anthony or I. But for now, let me finish on this slide. What one word would you use to describe the impact on Pima County when we have finished our Achieve 60 goal? Not if, when, because we are going to get this done. And your input today is really important in helping us do that. And while you're entering your responses here, let me give some thank yous to the different people who've been involved in this event. A lot of work goes into planning these kinds of things. So I'd like to thank the presenters earlier on today, both Chancellor Lambert and the speakers on the Education and Facilities Master Plans. I'd like to thank the team in Pima TV, Access and Disability Resources, for supporting the transcripting today and subtitles. Information technology play a key part in this, as do the Office of Strategy, Analytics and Research, whom you may have seen in the chat today. We've had support through marketing and public relations in outreach for the event. And let me see, I don't have the list in front of me. Am I forgetting anybody, Anthony? Oh, the foundation. Must thank the Pima Foundation. You're muted, Anthony.
Says you put me on the spot there. I sure hope not. Thank you to everybody who's helped make this possible. Thanks to the community members and the students who showed up and for the active chat discussion in YouTube. I was over there trying to come up with something witty to respond to Morgan, who said that they're all priorities. It's sort of like choosing between eating and sleeping. And I think typically I would choose pizza, Morgan, just so you know that that's the order of my operation. Pizza first, then sleep.
That's a good choice. And so lastly, thank you everybody for being here and attending the event today. Your input is so very important, and we appreciate every one of the comments that has been submitted. And we look forward to seeing you in April when we have the last of the Futures Conference events, when we will share the developing strategic plan to gather your input before we finalize that to submit it to our governing board for their input, review, and approval. So thank you everybody, and see you next time.